Technology permeates our daily lives. It is always important to think about what technology should do instead of what it can do. I'm Richard Koh, and welcome to our Tech 101 with our technology strategist. Welcome to Tech 101 with our tech strategist here at Microsoft Singapore. Today, my guest is Marcus T, and we're going to talk about the intelligent cloud and the intelligent edge. The good thing is that these opportunities presents itself when we can bring data analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence to the intelligent edge. So, Marcus, welcome again, and love to have you on the show here right now. So, tell me a little bit more about what you think about the intelligent edge.
Right. If you look into the notion of IoT devices, AI, there's a huge uptick of this technology, right, in the recent months or years, right? And one of the big concerns is that the data, right? Data is the core of this entire solution, right? And when we look into computer visions, right, there's a huge concern on, hey, is my images get stored in the cloud, right? And I want to make sure that I have the full control on the data itself, right? And this is where there's a huge uptick on intelligent edge. This is where we want to bring that intelligence down to the edge devices so that the data stays where it is. And, we are able to ensure that the privacy of the data, right, remains with the control of the customer's hand.
So that's really cool because we are making this seamless path between the edge and the cloud itself. And, the edge is where it meets the physical world. And the physical world is where a lot of data is being generated itself. So I heard that you got a very exciting demo for us today for the audience as well. Tell me a little bit more about what's that demo about.
All right, so I'm going to do a very simple demo on doing object detection. It's a very common scenario on the so-called computer vision world, right? And the differentiation here is that how we are able to bring the intelligence from the cloud down to the edge with a low-code kind of a manner to deploy the solution. So in this case, I pre-train a model without writing a single code on detecting myself and my headphone, right? And I can actually deploy this model down to the edge device. In this case, I'm using a Jetson Nano, right? And I will be able to do the inferencing, doing the computer object detection at the edge devices. And then the device will then able to stream the metadata to the cloud for me to do a further analysis.
Wow. So it sounds like bringing AI and machine learning models to the edge has become a lot simpler and very, very efficient. So Marcus, tell me more about how organizations might be looking at solutions like what you're going to demonstrate.
Right. So we all live in a physical world, right? But with all the technology, we are starting to see this whole notion of phygital. Basically, it's combining the digital with physical world, right? And in this case, a lot of time when we are deploying the IoT devices with AI enabled, this is where we are able to draw the insights from the spatial context, right? A good example is workplace safety, right? So imagine in a work site, right? We will have the AI-enabled cameras able to detect whether the workers are wearing their personal protections, or we are able to detect whether the equipments or the devices are operated by the right people. Again, all these things can be automated using an AI-enabled camera, and it actually saves a lot of human power.
Okay, very cool. So the machine learning models themselves, you can teach it very rapidly these days. Is that what I understand?
Yes, precisely. And this is where the more data we feed in, the more accurate, the model will get.
Okay, cool. Let's go see the demo.
Sure, let's go.
So Marcus, you got a very interesting setup here. Tell me more about this.
Right. So this is an NVIDIA Jetson Nano, and it comes with a GPU, right? And for this board, I'm actually connecting via a Wi-Fi. In this case, I'm using a phone to simulate an IP camera, streaming the videos into these devices itself.
Okay, so tell me a little bit, how much does this box cost?
It actually costs less than $100.
Less than $100, and it's got more processing power than what sent 3 men to the moon back in 1969?
Yep, that's how far the technology come along.
Okay, let's go into the demo.
Right. So over here, right, I'm actually using a Visual Studio Code to do the deployment. So behind the scenes, everything is powered by containers, right? So over here, I'm able to define what are the modules that I want to set up over here, right? And before I can do this, I can actually install the extensions for the Visual Studio Code so then I can have the seamless integration to perform the deployment.
So within Visual Studio Code itself, you can just pull in the extensions from Azure IoT very easily.
Yes.
Got it.
Right. So from here, I have the JSON defined. And for me to do the deployment, right, I no longer need to plug in the device to my IoT device. It's just a single click, create a deployment for a single device, select the device, and I'm good to go.
Fantastic.
Right. Let me show you another screen. Right. So once we have deployed, this is where the model is actually doing the inferencing. Right. So I'm switching to another screen. So this is Azure IoT Explorer. Basically, it's application for us to view the telemetry streaming into the cloud. Right. So as you can see over here, these are all the different telemetries streaming into the cloud from the device directly.
Okay.
All right. Now, let me just talk a little bit behind the scenes, right? How does all these things works, right? So first thing first, right? Just now we talk about intelligent cloud, intelligent edge, right? So how do we bring in the computer vision model into the edge, right? So over here, I'm actually using custom vision, part of the Azure Cognitive Services over here, right? So what I'm going to do here is that basically I'm just uploading the images. I draw the box. And I just click train. That's about it.
Okay, so when drawing the box, you're kind of boundary. You put a boundary around what the model needs to recognize.
Yes,
got it.
Right. And I'm not going to spend the time for it to wait the train. But let me just show you, what's the end product, right? So I will have the trains being done in the cloud, and over here, this is where the magics come. I'm actually able to export the model and deploy to the places that I want over here. And in this case, I'm actually using Onyx, Open Neural Network Exchange.
Okay, so multiple platforms.
Yes. So Open Neural Network Exchange is basically a format, just like, PDF, right? And this is a format for the machine learning model that can run in any hardware.
Okay.
All right. Now, so this is how, we are able to bring the model from the cloud to the edge, right? Now, from the Azure portal perspective, right, just now I've shown you the custom vision, right? And of course, there are other services that I'm using as well. And one particular thing is that I'm actually using this time series insight, right? Because from a device perspective, they are streaming telemetries with a timestamp, right? And what works best is that we are able to visualize without writing a single code on all the telemetry streaming into the cloud directly. Right.
And I see that inside the graphs itself, you are able to zoom in on specific area where telemetry has arrived into the time series explorer.
Precisely. Yeah. So over here, I'm actually able to zoom in or even, explore the different events over here, right? So, it's a bit cluttered, but let me just unfilter the screens. The entries are over here, right? And what you're able to see is that you will be able to see all the different objects being detected. For those without object, those are empty. All right. So as you can see over here, right, for this model, I'm actually I'm detecting myself as well as my headphone, right? So over here, I'll be able to do a counting on this object detection as well as the timestamp. Again, without writing a single code.
Okay, so the boundaries that you defined earlier, where it has your face, that's where it comes out at markers. Your your earpods container, that's what is showing as headphone.
Precisely.
Got it. Marcus, that was a fantastic demo. You made a seemingly very complex integration that used to take like days or months in the past and made it look so simple. So tell me a little bit more about your experience in setting this up.
Right. So this is the power of the cloud, right? Where we are able to bring in those intelligence down to the edge without writing a single line of code, right? Although you see the code, but we actually don't need to write because all are templatized, right? So for me to stitch all these integration together, I barely spend half a day. And I'll have a seamlessly nice demo. And in fact, it's actually production ready that if let's say we want to deploy this down to the field.
Wow, this is very cool. So thank you so much for being on the show, Marcus.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for those who want to find out more, right, feel free to check out the link below.
And this concludes this episode of Tech 101 with our tech strategists. So stay tuned for the next episode because you might just see Marcus working on devices that will send people, humans, to Mars.